Welcome to the TalkTrack. We're live in Ginger Plot 8 Governor Road, the Borough House. It's a proud production of the Cara Junkies and the Borough House. Ladies and gentlemen,
Men.
usually we kick off with our
Gentlemen.
customary, but we're going to take it easy today.
I would like to retract that statement.
Okay.
The statement
So,
has been aptly
yeah.
retracted at the presentation of.
There's a certain loyalty that our dear friend has for the Gilbys, and I suppose that is going to kick us off into a topic rather for tonight. We're going to talk about codependence.
Codependence, really. Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, this Yapcast is proudly brought to you by the farmers of God's plant.
Yes.
This can be found in the areas of Mayuge, Chaliwajala, Chanja, Kira, Ginger, and Ginger North. For more information, you can call not Musamvu, naughty, and the number shall not continue. Ladies and gentlemen, codependence.
Codependence, we are talking about romantic situations. It could even be parent-child, or partner-partner, or employee and employer. Codependence in relationships. And to kick it off, I'm really curious what you guys think. Because codependence usually, for those of you who are catching up with this term, but it's a very old term, but it came from people, Alcoholics Anonymous support groups, because the people who are supporting people in Alcoholic Anonymous groups would at some point tend to become really entwined in the lives of the people they're supporting. So with codependence in relationships, we're talking about mental, physical, emotional reliance on particularly one person. Roy, are you codependent on the mic? What's up? Talk.
No, I'm just like I don't think I can talk about it from my perspective, unless I forgot the question. But I believe we are just breaking down a little bit more in detail what we think codependence is. But I'd like to maybe kick us off on a trajectory, maybe that can guide the conversation. What typically causes codependence? Is it physical, like Martin said? What's some physical? What are some emotional? What are some social? What are some environmental aspects that surround us that may lead to codependence?
Yeah. And I suppose, before we move on to that question, do you guys recognize when you're with codependent partners?
Sarah, you want to kick us off?
And no, I mean, we're just talking about codependence in romantic relationships. So it could be child, parent, or employer, employee. It could be in any kind of that relationship. So we're talking about the mental, physical, and emotional reliance on particularly one person to meet all your emotional needs, or to, when you can't, you're extremely dependent on the other person, that you feel the effects that we shall talk about later. But do you recognize codependence in a partner?
Sometimes no.
Yes, we're kicking off with the sometimes no. Rowena.
Sometimes no, Rowena.
Because sorry guys, I'm going to. Because you see, quite often these things can be, when lines are too thin, some things are not recognizable. Codependence in this case, for most people, would be because maybe there is something they have lacked, in their life, and maybe with this particular person, they get it, so they grab onto that and forget, that they have, these people have their lives too, and even you that's quite dependent on this person, you have your life too. So I think when we lack certain things in our lives, I remember a family of mine, I will not be very specific, but she once says, I'm with this man because I've never really had like a father figure, and he would do things and she's like, oh, maybe this is what it would be like if I had, a father or a brother in my life, or so some of these things where you actually mix up the whole love thing. You like to be with someone because you feel loved, you feel cared for, you feel like he's checking on you, he's, oh my God, have you this, oh my God, have you that. So she felt like maybe my dad would have loved me if my dad was there. And then you find someone that makes you feel safe, that makes you feel like, oh, okay, this is what it feels like to have someone who actually, like a male figure that is there to do certain things. Then there's people that you meet someone and they just understand you. So basically, what you're going to do is drown them in your stories every day, your complaints, your what, because maybe for most cases, you're not a very open person to talk about your issues. But this person has made you feel so comfortable that you begin to open up, because some people don't open up about what they're dealing with, or their lives in general. But you meet someone who makes you feel like, oh, it's okay for me to share, and you forget. And you sometimes, I think for me, sometimes you begin to drain people and deprive them of their little space that they can have, their little, whether it's mental, physical. Sometimes we all need that space, like you just want to have your space. It can be like a mental, emotional, physical. Some people think space is just, oh, I cannot talk to you right now, like physically, eh? But we're forgetting that the physical aspects will affect the mental. I can't just keep calling you all the time and telling Sarah, this is my problem now. Because I know Sarah is going to listen. Yeah. Oh my God, can you imagine this? So I think we tend to depend on people because of the things we lack, and then we find them in these people. And that's why also some people don't let go. So they hold on to, because I need this person, therefore. Then that's how we forget things. Then you forget about, I'm with this person because I love them or because I care for them. It becomes, I'm with this person because they're helping me survive or deal with a certain issue. And it becomes toxic. It becomes dangerous. Maybe I've gone overboard.
Yes, we like where we are. Yes.
We do. Becky?
So on that issue, I'll go back to our parents. When we were growing up, they always told us that we ladies, a man has to do everything for you. A man is the head of the family. So you find that some ladies have gone into marriage and they know that they have to depend on the man. Yeah. So it goes back to, you have to depend on this man for each and everything. Whether you want or you don't want, he's the man of the house or he's the head of the family, so you have to depend on them. So I think that is also bringing about the codependence, because you know what, that this man has to provide for me, whether they want or they don't want. It's their responsibility. Their responsibility. And also, I would say that parents are really playing like a great role in making people to be codependent on others. I would say so. Because you find that, yes, you're the firstborn, and your parent will be like, you have to take care of your what? Your siblings. So they are switched in their minds that, you know what, my brother or my elder sister or, has to give this to me. Whether, they want or they don't want, it's their responsibility. So they become codependent onto them. Whether, they are capable of doing anything, they don't do it because they know you have to take care of them. And also another issue would be that some people just don't want to work. So if they know they have a relative that could support them or could do anything for them, so they would rather stick to, being there. Yeah. And they provide for them everything. So it goes back to the mentality that we are having as individuals. And yeah, I would say it goes back to an individual, not realizing who you are and thinking that, someone has to do everything for you. And people feel entitled to being, given. And they feel like they have to be given all the time, regardless of the fact that they really have to do something for themselves. So I think this is what is bringing about the codependency. And I think parents should teach their children that they have to work for themselves, rather than thinking that they are going to be getting everything from their siblings or from them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like to reemphasize that we're not looking at we. Yeah. Yeah. Let me just sort of say this. Huh? Reemphasize that codependence usually manifests in mental, physical, and emotional aspects. Yeah, I think that's what I would like us to look at. And from everyone who's been talking so far, it seems like, oh, women, women, but like talking about emotional codependence, physical codependence, or mental codependence with men and with women. And the question was earlier, how do you identify, how do you recognize that? Yes, sir.
About the women, it wasn't only about the women, but
Yeah.
it goes back to your siblings. It can be a boy or a girl,
Yeah.
they are codependent on you, and that sticks in their mind. So that's the mentality they have, that they have to depend on you. So they forget that they also have to work for themselves. Yes. So it's not that I'm, like
Yeah,
defending
no.
women or
Yeah.
talking about women,
Yeah.
but I'm cutting across,
Okay.
what has been going on or what's going on.
Thank you, Becky. Sarah.
Okay, I think I have maybe 2 points to say about this. Um, like Harriet said in the beginning, sometimes it's hard to notice someone that is codependent on you, to you, whatsoever the English is. um, it might be hard to note that one of your relatives or family member or friend is codependent, but at the same time, people that are codependent emotionally, maybe mentally,
Yeah.
may not realize they are being codependent.
Yeah.
When it comes to material stuff, they might realize, or yeah, like the physical things, the physical part of codependency, they might realize. But things that involve emotions, brains, stuff like that, the person might be codependent and they don't know, or they don't notice they are being codependent. Now, you, the person that is always available for this person that is not self-aware, you could be lucky to notice, like, oh, this person is like overly codependent, but also at the same time you may not notice, because from different cultures some things are normal, and other cultures some things are not normal. Like, I could freely talk about my sex life, or I don't know what I'm going through every day, but maybe that's because that's how I was groomed, that's why how I grew up.
Yeah.
You talk about things, but then the other person was groomed differently. You have to take care of your everything in the aspect of life, and so they feel like you're bugging them all the time, like info dumping and stuff. But it's because of the either culture differences or how we grew up, I think I've forgotten the other thing I wanted to clarify on. No, I'll pass the mic to the next person.
Yeah. Yeah, because like Sarah was saying, sometimes people, Rowena hinted on the point earlier, sort of people kind of look for things they have not been, things that haven't been abundant in their lives in other people. So you could look for someone who's extremely patient with you and can listen, or someone who's like, even when you're messing up big time, someone who's just going to cajole your feelings and is not going to say a word out of turn. And through things like that, you can start seeing the signs of a codependent person. They probably walk around eggshells. They can't really say, they can't really say because they're conflict averse. They don't want to create conflict, or they will apologize even if you're the one who hurt them, because you're feeling a certain deep need within them. But Trey, please go ahead.
Yeah. So
Right there.
yeah. No. Just to mine is sort of like putting together all your points. The aspect of luck that Rowena brought up, something inherent in us that is always searching for that thing that we did not have, probably as children, sometimes even as adults, because there are certain traumas that affect us as adults that push us to a point where we feel the need to be codependent. I like Becky's point about it sort of being foundational. She took it like back to our parents, and how our parents maybe shape the way we see, relate, and interact with other people. And then also Sarah's very good points. But what I've seen from majority of the conversation is it is very easy to notice someone who is codependent in the sense that they need emotional strength from someone else, right? that is what we've gotten from majority of this conversation. Do you think, or do you believe that there are instances where the reverse is true, where you as an individual are dependent on that feeling of being the savior?
Yeah, that's a
Like
good
you're
point.
always available, you're the one who wants to be there, you're the one who wants to get all the information dumping, because maybe there is a feeling you did not have growing up, or a feeling that you felt, something missing throughout your life that forces you to be in that point. But then how does one notice when they're in that pattern? And for purposes of engagement of the conversation, how does one seek help?
Say something. One thing I would like to talk about is it goes back to manipulation. At times, people are what?
No, I'm curious to see where this is going to go.
So, some people become codependent because of manipulation. So, let's say your sibling has to pay your fees, right? So, you're going to be manipulated to be there, whether you want or you don't want. So, you're just manipulated into something. Not that you want it, but you're forced into the situation. So, I would say that the moment you realize that you're being manipulated, I think that's when you're like, you know what, I don't want to be in this again, even though this person is giving me this or that, I would rather move. So it goes back to you realizing that you're being manipulated, even if yes you're depending on someone, but someone is using you just because you're depending on them. So yeah, my point is running, but you can.
Please, yeah.
So I think to put that all together, I think so basically it's same line, and I wanted to say that some people will want to be the savior, so they would want you in a position
It's called having the savior
of,
complex. Huh?
yeah. So they would want you in a position where they come in to save the day, So they're going to manipulate you to come in and be the savior. Now, in turn, you're going to need them, but they're also going to need you for that purpose. So they will constantly create situations or
Yeah.
scenarios where they come in. In fact, I would think this way we're talking now is more what maybe we could look into call because the other bit happens when this happens. You get when there is the cause for the need.
Yeah.
You get so codependence is like someone has to create. Okay, maybe they don't, but sometimes people do.
I think.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
create the environment for someone needs to cling on to that,
No.
and
So
it's
can I
also
pause?
used in
Yeah.
relationships.
Can I pause you midway and ask if it's codependence is circular? Someone creates a cycle of wanting, being needed, and then the other person does the reverse. You provide the need, then the other person reinforces the need of being needed.
It does, and it can start from any end.
Yeah.
It can really be from this other end,
Yeah.
or the other end.
Yeah.
But if we're looking at, let me go to relationships.
Yes, please.
Relationships, someone in that relationship is going to manipulate the other so that they need them and cling on to them
Yeah.
for that purpose. So then you begin to feel guilty when you do not deliver on your end what this person expects from what they're offering you as your savior. You
Eh?
get?
Yes.
So it's almost like, I don't want to sound wrong. It's almost like when you pray, I don't want to be misquoted, I'm just using an example. It's almost like when you pray and something happens, or if you have been wishing for something to happen and it happens, then in turn you expect it, you have to go and pray and say, oh, thank you, because this miracle is for, no, and all the praises. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Also, it works along that, because then if we don't have that, people are just going to definitely survive and find how to make things work. However, some people on the other end will manipulate the savior.
Yeah.
You get? You've not met people where every time you meet them, it's just visible. It doesn't mean that they are actually in that state, but they don't want to contribute to life in a way. They just want to sit there so that that one, Bambi, it's okay. That one, I've seen it firsthand. I know someone who um, would begin to be, oh my goodness, every time, that they saw people who walked in who are able to probably, oh, what's wrong? What. So, yeah, it's the street kids are manipulating, for example. Um, I'm not saying there are those who don't need it, but come on. Sometimes the acting is too much. And then, you're manipulated into thinking, oh, maybe I'm wrong, so therefore I should do this.
Yeah.
Or the other way around. So it's a whole, cycle. But I also think it's part of what makes life go round at the end of the day. Because then that's how people realize, oh no, I need to get myself out of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or people choose to have growth through things
Important
like
what?
this. And
Important
how
word,
do
yeah.
you know? Yes, sometimes you can know. You've been there. Imagine if the only time I call you is when you get, or I will call you because I had something. I will not say it, but I'm just trying to static a whole, by the way, how are you? Okay, I want to vote because I know you were there, so that you can then you get, and then some people feel good when they do these things. So it's sort of like, as long as it gives me value or makes me feel good or makes me
Yeah.
feel better, you know. So why not? And that's where it comes in, and we say it's easy to tell, but at the same time it's hard because it's a thin line between someone genuinely needing you or someone genuinely wanting to, and also someone just going overboard. I cannot be your punching bag 24/7. You get? Or your therapist 24/7. Or your, I don't know. And that's where we all go wrong. And I think for most of us, there'll always be that one person. All of us. There'll always be that one person. It will be your mom, it will be your sister, it will be your boyfriend, your girlfriend. Like, you will need, like, there'll be codependence, but then there'll be that one person that you identified. See, the human brain identifies, catch, this one can take my, all of that.
All of
And
me,
then
yeah.
you just keep going and
Yeah.
forget when to.
Yes, Kia, you wanted to say something?
I feel like what I wanted to say has been said. But what I want to add is codependence is complex. There is nothing positive about it. It's a pattern. So it means something has to be done repetitively
Yeah.
for you to identify it as being codependent. And with codependence, it has a lot to do with the enabler. It's like
Yeah.
a drug addict, the person who keeps giving them the drug.
Yeah.
So it comes back to you as an individual. The one who fails to create boundaries is
Because
actually the enabler of that pattern. So, like, when you notice and feel good about it, you're not helping the other individual to overcome the negativity, you're encouraging it. So it has more to do with you. You will keep complaining, oh, this person only calls me when they need something from me, but you have never mentioned it. You have never communicated to them and be like, dude, this and this is how this relationship should work. Like, it makes you feel good. So the enabler is always like the main problem.
yes. So on that note, Kia, how do you make such a, okay, Ray is gonna ask, but I want to ask you, how do you make such a dynamic healthy?
How do you make it
Because
healthy?
there's a give and there's a taker constantly. And then there's a person enabling the taking, So how do you break that dynamic of that kind of, or do you I think the question is, how do you make it healthy rather than how do you break the dynamic? If it can be made healthy.
Yeah, of course it can be made healthy because everyone around us needs help.
Yeah.
Like, we need our friends, we do, but there are some people that become stepping stones for everyone. Like, everyone knows them to be that guy will do anything for you. So when you notice you are that person, me personally, I like being very vocal. I like being an honest person. Of course, I like helping my friends, but when it becomes too much, I always communicate. And I believe when I set boundaries and maybe it breaks the friendship or it's something like that, no, it just takes me back to maybe it's not worth it. Because if I communicate boundaries to a friend, or someone communicates their boundary to me, I should look for a way to go around it to respect their point of view, and we look for a way forward. So I think that's how you make it healthy. Just be vocal about your feelings, communicate, look if there is change.
Okay. Yeah.
In my language, they say umpa nkuhe.
Give me,
Yes?
I give you.
Umpa nkuhe ni zongozi tafa.
Uh-huh.
The give and take is a friendship or relationship that does not die.
Yeah.
My translation may not be perfect, but umpa nkuhe
Umpa nkuhe.
nzongozi itafa.
Yeah. Yes.
Our greats knew that. I keep bringing up this thing. Our greats, but for sure that's just me. Our greats knew these things. They knew that a relationship that has a give and take, it just can't be a take.
Yeah.
From your end. I mean, it becomes quite exhausting, yeah? At some point, yeah, I understand. Personally, I've known someone in my life who always gave. No, always gave, because at that point, you're like, okay, if I... because of circumstances, though, I think. Not just because they wanted to give or anything.
Yeah.
And sometimes we are put in this... You can be so kind,
Yeah.
and sometimes you want to draw the line. But here's what happens. That's why I come in with her point of, it can be your family, it can be your, your community, your society, your home.
Yeah.
Where if people identify, for example, that Roy or Sarah or Village Man, sorry, Martin, in this case I can't use Village Man, or Morris or Kia, that, okay, he or she is quite, giving.
Yeah.
Even your family members or elders or whoever will come and say, first handle for me this one. Even when you want to say no, you think about it, you see maybe the state or situation, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Then they come with the next one. Okay, now this one also. And then because you did it for the other one, you can't say, okay, no to this one. Because everyone will be like, oh, okay, so selective. And once you do it for that one, and then someone else says, okay, for me, I don't want that. Mine is different. Mine is for starting this. So every time someone steps up, it may not necessarily be a repetitive from one person, but you're going to have people around you who are going to constantly, oh, for so and so, but did you see your this one? But right? So every time you're like, okay, fine, okay, right? So I think even the societies themselves, yeah. It's apart from who we're calling the enabler, it can be people around you who are the enablers. You understand? Where you feel like, considering our cultures and things, where you feel like, okay, it's my responsibility because maybe your elders or, people have come around and said, do this for this, but you see now, chika, those things. People need to, Then you're like, okay, then this, then that, remember? So now you end up doing things. You do love doing that, but at the same time, you don't stop it, because if I stop it, maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. It's not even about feeling good. It's about, if I stop, how will the other person be? Not feel, be. If you feel like maybe they'll be better in life if I just a bit, or maybe the next one, such things. Or maybe even if I talk to that person, because it's not just financial or, like we said, physical. If you talk to the person, maybe advice. That's why most of us will say, if you want someone to talk to, I think this person is good at, engaging and understanding people. So sometimes you're just not the enabler yourself. Let's say if I'm the enabler, there's going to be several other enablers that even if you try to pull out of it, it becomes quite difficult. So then you just work around it for peace and sanity. But then that's where the manipulators come in as well. And those are the other enablers I'm talking about, because they manipulate.
So Roy has a few questions.
Why are you putting me on the spot like this? No, I've been listening, and there's like a lot of takeaways from what both Kia and Rowena have said. But the one thing that stood out for me from that entire conversation is more often than not, I've heard the word pattern and I've heard the word repeated, pattern and repeated. So Kia said codependence is like a pattern. And there has to be some maybe behavior or something that is repeated in that pattern that keeps you taken back to that pattern. So it brings me to my question. We've talked about codependence in terms, I think, majority in terms of the emotional state, right? We're emotionally drawn to an entity or drawn to a person. But if I'm to take us away slightly from that and go into the probably the physical and maybe even emotional aspects of codependence, do you think that our physical addictions, let's say someone that's addicted to alcohol, someone that's addicted to cigarettes, someone that is even addicted to a hometown, do you think codependence in a certain way plays a role in fueling those addictions?
Yeah, keep it short so that we.
I think yeah,
Yes.
it does because if someone is encouraging my addiction, so why won't I depend on them? So it does. Yeah.
I'm not really talking about that. Again, I'm not just talking about having someone that is encouraging that addiction. I'm talking about us as the individual. Let's say the individual with the addiction. Let's say the person that is addicted to alcohol, the person that is addicted to cigarettes, the person that is anyone that is addicted to something, whether physically or emotionally. Does codependence, in a way, play a part to fuel that addiction? Like, for example, what is it about the alcohol that keeps them coming back to the alcohol? What is that feeling that the alcohol invokes? Are they addicted to that feeling? So, does codependence in any way fuel our physical and sometimes emotional addictions to things?
Yeah, I think it does. For me to be codependent on you, it's triggered by something you're solving for me. So I will keep coming back. If alcohol makes me feel good, maybe makes me forget something for a bit, I'll keep going for that relief. Me personally, I think I'm so codependent on Ginger Town. Gives me comfort.
You're
Gives me
codependent on the hometown.
So like when I go to Kampala and I'm there for 2 weeks, like I crave coming back to this peaceful town. Like so, I think it's the relief it gives you, so you keep going back to that. Doesn't have to be a person. It can be an object. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Kia.
So just to add on what Shaz said, this is not a saying, but it's kind of something that is always in my head. Okay, I will use the saying that says out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
You know, if the person that does everything for me is not there, then I'll probably not think about finding another person if this person is going to come back. Maybe I'll use a personal example. For a long time, a friend of mine literally put me on a payroll for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And I wasn't working, I was doing my freelance stuff. And I got so comfortable, like so comfortable. But because he was doing that for me, then at some point I started thinking, what happens if this person dies? You know, who else will come in to step up, you know, for what he's doing for me? It's not that I was lazy. I was struggling with a lot of things mentally, like so much. So him being there for me gave me the relief of, you know what? I don't have to wake up every morning to go and work or find a job or something, because this person is taking care of all that, you know? And that it wasn't a give-take kind of situation. Like until now, I've never given this person anything in return, like not at all. Sometimes I even wonder who is there for you emotionally if you need emotional support or if you need help here and there. Because I feel like I don't even do 1% for him,
Yeah.
but he does like almost 90% or 100% for me. It could be applying for a job and he's like, you know what, I got you. And yet he's like the busiest person in the world. I know, you know? So if the person that is enabling the situation is not there, then it's maybe hard or tricky for you to carry the behavior on. because the enabler is not there, or whoever is supporting the behavior is not there, or whichever avenues you have to get what you are addicted to are probably closed, you know. Yeah, I think I'll end there.
Yes. So in that interlude, let's cheers to Sarah waking up. Yeah? Cheers to the talk track, gentlemen, and Morris and Roy sometimes. Cheers. How do we? So Roy, I suppose what healthy patterns can like someone who's heavily dependent on, especially emotionally, what healthy patterns can that person develop to overcome that kind of emotional codependence, specifically emotional codependence?
Specifically emotional codependence. I think that again depends on um, the society around us really plays a part in either fueling or defueling any healthy habits that we try to create. I feel that sometimes vacating an entire situation might be the only way for some of us to break some of these codependent patterns. Like, for example, let's say you've grown up. I love ginger. I love ginger. So this is no shade on ginger. But you've grown up in ginger, which means the people you've grown to love and associate yourselves with are all in ginger. The places you love to eat at are in ginger. The places you love to party at are in ginger. All the people who solve your problems are in ginger, right? No matter how much you try to build, you're going to get dependent on a lot of these things. No matter how much of a healthy relationship you try to build with these places, that availability, you know, back at the back of your mind that this thing is always going to be available, so I can keep going back to this thing. I think one of the healthiest ways sometimes, I know it's extreme, but sometimes as codependent individuals, and I've been in a situation like that before, where you just extract yourself from that position. For example, take a chance, leave ginger, go work in, let's say, like sorority, or go work in a Germany, experience a whole new environment, right? Yeah. Experience a whole new environment. Does it work all the time? No, but I think it really does play, yeah, a big part in doing something.
And I think, yeah, especially, yeah, please.
Can I give you my life story? 2000. Okay. So I started working in Kampala 2014. Guess what? Every Friday morning to Ginger. And I've done that ever since until I quit this year. Just so you know. Yeah? I'll be there Monday to Thursday, Friday. Now, there are weekends where the party is nice in Kampala. The plot is real. In the middle, I'm like, guys, bye, bye, bye. I'm going to Ginger. You ask people, they'll tell you. You know, these parties that go till 6, the drinks are there. And you go to Ginger, for real. You say bye to people in the middle of the night. It is 2 in the morning. I'll be in Ginger in 45 minutes. But I don't know if that was a bad thing for me. I actually don't think it was. Okay, maybe at some point, because socially, yeah, I became less available to people that have been in my life. And I sort of detached without realizing it, yeah? Because even just one weekend, you get what I'm saying? Just be there, relax with people, have a good time. Don't keep saying, guys, it's getting late. You know, people are trying to catch up with you. Wedding meetings, you're in a hurry, like everything. But I also think at the same time, as much as that was the case, people got to understand or realize or respect that, oh, okay, so this person, if this is where they stand, yes, I'm telling you, the people will come all the way as much as I will go all the way. Because here's the issue. Let me tell you the good part about this. I always used to go. Yeah, I always went. You see, Kampala people don't come. You're the one who always goes. So when they realize this one is for Ginger, they make time
Come through.
and they come as well. Because it can't just be me investing. in coming to see you. So I think it sort of helped when I started doing that because I was at everything back in the day, at every event, at every what, Kampala where, and then I started saying, guys, I'm okay. If you need me, I'm in ginger. So I think it comes, like we said, for some people, it's good and bad. Let's not just say it's entirely negative. Come on. Because if I'm needing your emotional support and you're allowing it,
Yeah.
and it makes me feel better, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to rely on you knowing that this person, you've had those things of, this guy is not reliable. Why do we use these ones? So if you're reliable, I mean, though you go back to sometimes you go back, I've been there, where I'm like, you know what, I think this person needs a break sincerely. The whole of yesterday, today, next, the other week, I've been like just calling, can you imagine? Even when I meet them, it's not even a hello, it's just wait. So, you know, sometimes you check yourself because as human beings, let's be honest, all of us, any person, even the codependent people from all ends, from all sides, we all sit and think about these things. At some point, we all sit and say, haven't I gone a bit too far? So that's when, the moment you ask yourself the question, allow yourself to answer it.
Yeah.
Because when you ask it and say, well, it's not, just answer the question. Ask this. Yes,
Yeah.
answer the hard ask the hard questions,
Yeah.
and answer them
Answer
because
honestly, yeah.
I mean, and we've seen this thing, especially in relationships, where you even feel guilty. That's why you see people say, I miss you. You think for why? It's because they're attached to someone so much for certain reasons. That, and let's not be selfish, you guys. It's not just about, when we talk about these things, it's not just, because all of us are selfish, all of us are codependent, because you start missing someone when they're not there because they make you happy. You want the happiness. That's why you're with that person.
Hey.
Hey, why
I
you
tell you,
won't
we are
make me
going to
sad?
missing now.
Why am I going to be with you? You know? So I think in the end we just wait.
Yeah.
You're like, let me not overstress this person. Let me not overstress this. It's like in school. You're like, I've overcalled my parents. Let me stop. Let me give it
Yeah.
a week or two. You know how kids can be. So I think when you ask yourself the question, first of all, the hard question, am I crossing? Am I overdoing this? And quite often it crosses us, everyone, it crosses your mind.
Yeah.
Now, when that question is asked, what happens though is we ignore it. We're like, and yet you could say, you could think to yourself, okay, I think I have
Over.
and that's why most of us go, I'll give this person a break, but jagamba, you know, you've seen that thing where someone even says, you call, me I've ever called. Because you've checked yourself already. So I think we need to continue to check ourselves. The moment we start to feel sorry for ourselves, yes, there's the enabler, but even when you start to feel sorry for yourself and not think about the next person, it's over.
Okay,
Just to add
as
a
we
little,
wrap up.
Just to add a little,
yes,
I would
please.
say it goes back to self-realization and self-growth. So how far do you want to go?
That went to private school.
We have to say,
The woman, the woman brought a whole story down to 2 words: self-realization. Self-realization. That closed chapter. Rowena could have just said it's all about self-realization. Pa.
But also being Rowena, just leave it at that.
That's was the whole
yes.
story. Martin, you were saying something?
Yeah, I mean, this is a very interesting and important conversation, I think, because a lot of people don't realize how negative this is. And I was thinking about it today because I was thinking about a situation I was in a long time and I would get emotionally exhausted because I was always like listening. I was like, oh my God, I cannot do this anymore.
I think,
No.
yeah, but again, much to your point, I think all of us have been on,
Yeah.
I think as a human being, we've been on both ends of this
Yeah.
codependence thing, especially the emotional side. We've been that person that is always available. But, you know, for every person that is always available, they need someone on whom they are going to dump that stuff. So it's like a cycle. There is
cycle,
someone
yeah.
who needs someone, who
Yeah.
needs someone, who needs someone, who needs someone, who needs... So Yeah, like what Kia said again. It goes back to what Kia said. It's a pattern. It's a cycle. It's repeated.
Yeah.
We sort of enable each other in one way or another. And there was a point I actually wanted to ask a question whether codependence is essential to human survival. But
But
then,
we can continue. we are we are wrapping up
but
for
we are
recording
wrapping up,
reasons.
so we shall come back to codependence part 2.
Thank you guys so much for
Sometime.
tuning in. We have been listening to TalkTrack, a proud production of the Car Junkies on the Barrow House. The TalkTrack is produced by Morris, edited by Morris, and sound mixed by Morris, and presented by me, the Village Man, and Roy, the Alchemist.
Yeah.
This conversation is going to have a follow-up. No man is an island. So we are all codependent. And that brings us to the end of our show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Cheers, and tune in next time.